Russia General Consul, Mr. Valery Khachaev. And I would like you to listen to his insights into Asian century, into Russia-India relations, and the future of Asian and Eurasian continent. So.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to this press conference. And this is, as I understand, the press conference before the summit that you will have tomorrow, the conference, full-fledged conference. And it's a pleasure also to sit in the dais here with seasoned diplomat Ramesh Chandra, yes, who also had a long association with Russia, and it's a pleasure, sir. It's a pleasure, sir. And certainly. Thank you very much for the invitation to the Alliance University that you also provide me an opportunity to present our views, our assessment of on the topic that will be the main subject of tomorrow's conference. As to it will be called the Asia Centuries, as I understand. Yes, this is certainly one subject that is one topic that is being at the moment one of the much talked about, as Asia Rise is certainly a phenomenon. It is a phenomenon, and but this is also a natural thing. It's a natural thing, as which is recognized now. Over the last few decades, the global gravity has shifted quite distinctly and decisively towards east and south, and this is something that cannot be denied, and this is remarkable in many ways, as this tendency persists as the growth potential of the non-Western world and specifically its vanguard, BRICS Plus, is immense. It is immense, and from the point of the available resources, it is immense. Its interconnection capacity on the east-south and south-south vectors. This is, in a way, a result of reconfiguration. That is a good promise for Asia, certainly, and maybe a bad omen, as it is taken in the West, for at least for them, for the West, for those who had the delusions of the end of history, and who continues to divide the world, as former chief of European Foreign Service Borrell once divided the world into blossom garden and jungle. So the inability, unfortunately, to accept the stark objective reality of shifting geopolitical sense and unwillingness to seek for a common steady ground on the basis of justice and compromise, peaceful coexistence and indivisible security has led to a precarious situation in which we are now, and it is, we can see it in the global politics and economics, even in ecological sphere. What we have now is it is dysfunctional in international institutions, economic and financial fragmentation, sanctions-driven energy and food crises, and certainly sharply declining confidence in reserve currencies. unnecessary conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza, which could have been avoided if the core causes had been addressed. This is regrettable. That many golden opportunities for ensuring the international system stability over the last 3 decades have been lost and continue to be exhausted. The opportunities which were crystallized, for example, in the various proposals of the Russian Federation on the single European and Eurasian space, on the European security prior to the Ukrainian conflict. The opportunities which have been also articulated by India on universal amity, harmonious coexistence, epitomized in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam concept. No doubt that that the present churn is only a temporary one, and it is a passing geopolitical disturbance, and this will eventually come to some stable order point, to some equilibrium. But this equilibrium, of course, cannot be a reversal to any new version of neocolonial hegemony. Considering the growing demand by the majority of states for a just and equitable order. This yearning for a positive change is reflected in the aspiration towards adaptation of the existing universal institutions of governments, such as United Nations, to the changing international environment. It can be seen in the spectacular rise of BRICS, presenting a new attractive ethos of interstate communication. In this line comes the SCO and consolidation of the Eurasian space, strengthening of ASEAN, Gulf and other groupings, etc. In the same context, the special and privileged Russian-India partnership certainly remains a major factor of world politics, and the importance of this vector is rising in bilateral and not only bilateral but multilateral terms. The upward tendency, I think you have seen it even the last year. It was quite evident of late. So just in wrapping up my presentation, I would like to express confidence that India-Russia relations, which is standing on a solid, time-tested ground, will further develop to the benefit of our countries. And this closeness, it was very clearly evidenced in the recent top-level meetings. The Prime Minister of India visited Russia twice last year, and we hope that India will have a Russian president here this year. So thank you very much.
Good evening.
Excuse me, maybe just if I may interrupt you.
Sure, please.
Maybe it's better if I present myself.
Sure. Yes.
My general consul is speaking here at the press conference. Ambassador requested me to come here as he had to go. He has a delegation in New Delhi. I'm a general consul stationed in Chennai, but my area of responsibility is 5 states of the south of India, including Karnataka, and Union Territory Pondicherry. Uh, I'm not a newcomer in India. I served here for more than 15 years, all in all in different postings, mostly in New Delhi, and at various capacities, including was dealing with foreign policy issues. Thank you.
So effectively, the Russian Tsar for South India.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe I'll just set the stage and hand it over to you. Well, thank you all. Thank you everyone for being present here. I thought I'll give a little brief about the Alliance Literary Festival, for which the Consul General has so graciously accepted to preside over the curtain raiser. The Literary Festival at Alliance University is an aim of a university to make itself a hub for art and culture, and more so to attract and make Bangalore as a destination for art and culture. As you know, Bangalore is a confluence of many cultures, all different populations, not just from south of India, from across the nation, and also internationally. Alliance Literary Festival began in 2022. That was the first time that this literary festival by the university was launched, and so to say, in these years, it has gained a lot of momentum, and this is the fourth edition, as we call it, the Alliance 4.0. Just to read out some of the aims and theme that was set for this ALF. The theme this time is Beyond Borders, the Asian Century, where stories, diplomacy, the global narrative, a theme that sort of narrates deeply in today's world. Literature, as we all know, has been a bridge between cultures, a force that transcends boundaries and a powerful instrument for diplomacy. As a university that champions thought leadership and global perspectives, we are proud to create this platform for meaningful conversations that inspire change. In fact, in an era where global narratives shape societies, literature, storytelling, and diplomacy are more intertwined than ever today. At ALF 2025, we will explore how words influence geopolitics, shape cultures, and define our shared human experiences. From fiction to non-fiction, from poetry to policy, we will delve into the power of storytelling in diplomacy, governance, and personal identity. Just to quickly run you through some of the prominent or at least expected or enthusiastic names, we have Mr. Manishankar Iyer, who is the former Minister of Panchayat Raj of India, Javed Akhtar, a renowned poet, lyricist, and screenwriter, Justice Justi, who is the former Supreme Court judge, Rajdeep Sardesai, who is a senior journalist and author, Jeet Thayal, who's an award-winning poet and novelist. We have Perumal Murugan, who's the most celebrated author here in India. We have a discussion that explores Russia, Eurasia, where it has Radhika Desai, Sergey, and Farik Cyril. Alliance Literary Festival, and many more. Alliance Literary Festival, in fact, has much more to offer. The next 3 days, we will host a series of panel discussions, keynote speakers, book launches, and artist performances. And we invite students, literary enthusiasts, writers, scholars, and pretty much everyone to come witness this 3-day extravaganza where thoughtful, meaningful discussions will take place, and hopefully we will see the rise of the Asian century. Thank you so much, and I would like my friend, however, a very seasoned diplomat from the government of India, who is now just retired in the month of November, to talk about his perspective of the Asian century and thereafter. Doctor.
Very good afternoon. It is such a pleasure to see so many friends from the media community here. I'm in the august presence of Ambassador Valery Hojayev, the Consul General of Russia for 5 South Indian states and Union Territory of Pondicherry. Uh, Professor Anirudh, uh, who's Dean at the Alliance University. We have the Pro Chancellor who introduced me, Dr. Abhay Chebbi, and Dr. Julian, who's effectively this brainchild and baby the Alliance Literary Festival is. He is director of the Eurasian Studies at the Alliance University. It's not my first association with the Alliance University. I've had the privilege of interacting with management students at the university, which has much more than 10,000 students and is among the leading schools, law schools in India, as it were, and rated as such with several foreign students also studying there. It gives me particular pleasure that Ambassador Hojayev has traveled to Bangalore to be with us for the inauguration of the Alliance Literary Festival. As you heard from the Pro Chancellor of the university, it does promise to be an event-laden sort of festival with several luminaries, some among them my favorites, former Minister Manishankar Iyer, a senior colleague of mine from the Indian Foreign Service who went on to join politics, Javed Akhtar, one of the finest lyricists that Bollywood has ever produced. And till today, his lyrics form a large chunk of the music heritage of India. There are also a few journalists with whom I have to square up, like Rajdeep Sardesai. Is he coming? Is Rajdeep coming? But about me, I joined the Foreign Service in 1989. I was initially allocated to the Indian Police Service, but then shifted to the Foreign Service in the same year. My last 3 assignments include being Minister Political in the embassy in Moscow, which I recall very fondly. My career began in the former Soviet Union. I was still Ambassador Hojayev way back in the winter of 1990. Most young journalists like you all may not have been born then. But then I had a chance to go back in various capacities. One as a Chief Liaison Officer for a BRICS Summit, one as a Chief Liaison Officer for the RIC Summit, Russia, India, China Summit. I like to be as brief as possible and as focused as possible. It is not inappropriate that Ambassador Hojayev is here because Russia has been dealing for quite some time with the Chitrasala Parishad, which houses among the largest collections of Nikolai Rerik, who has been a great friend of India. And there are hundreds of scholars from the cultural life of India who revere him as a deep and a very close friend of India. His exchanges with Rabindranath Tagore are very well known, his exchange of letters with him. And it is a matter of happiness that the ambassador, His Excellency Ambassador Denis Alipov, during his very brief visit for Aero India show, a grand event organized in Karnataka by the Indian Air Force, was a spectacular success. Russia has been a very trusted partner on the defense and strategic areas of our cooperation, including in space and in atomic energy. Your Aryabhatta would not have been launched from Baikonur Cosmodrome way back in 1974 without help of our Russian friends. Your Kudankulam project would never have moved forward without the commitment at the highest levels in the government in Russia, even as of today. I claim proximity to the current president of the Russian Federation, Mr. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, when he was acting mayor of St. Petersburg, dating back to 1994-95. Now, insofar as the theme of the conference is concerned, I wish to congratulate very sincerely the top leadership and management of the Alliance University in Karnataka for coming up with this idea. It truly will be an Asian century. Ambassador Hojayev, just 350 years ago, between India and China, we constituted about 50% of global economy. In genetics, there is a concept called atavism, which is a reversal to the original. So inexorably, developments in today's global economic and financial stage do indicate both India and China moving forward. Russia has been and will continue to be a very central pivot in all this, or you call it pivot, I don't know. So Russia will continue to be an important pivot. After all, never for a moment forget that the Mendeleev's table on which global chemistry is associated with, whether in India or in China or in the United States, Mendeleev's table emanated from Moscow. And there is no element in the Mendeleev's table which is not in Russia's possession. From what my knowledge of chemistry or biochemistry goes. And like I said, we will continue to cherish this special and privileged partnership which we enjoy with Russian Federation very happily. You have seen my minister, Dr. Jaishankar, speak when he was asked about why we were importing oil and petroleum from Russian Federation, which was under sanctions. He did make it a point to say that the amount of purchases were equal to what Europe purchases on an afternoon. Besides, what will be in one's country's interest, there are permanent interests in diplomacy. Diplomacy is second only to war. And there's only one thing common in diplomacy. It is your interest, your national interests, and the manner in which you pursue your relations with friends. Like it has been famously said, you do not have permanent friends, you do not have permanent enemies, but you have permanent interests, and those will be continuing to guide India's foreign policy. Ambassador Hojayev very eloquently spoke about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is a family. I'll go a step further and say Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. This country, as a matter of abiding faith, believed in the whole world being an interdependent family. We again think like Russia when we talk about a just and equitable international order, and that includes a reform of the United Nations Security Council. The global community cannot ignore a country with a population of 1.5, close to 1.55 billion people, almost more than a sixth of humanity. If we are not there on the Security Council as a permanent member, how are at least 1/6 of the global problem areas are being left unattended at a minimum? So our Russian friends have openly spoken about their support to India's candidature to the Security Council as a permanent member. Major powers are there. There is one that is dilly-dallying, and you know which one and why. I need not delve too much into the Middle Kingdom and what its plans are. But again, I agree that there should be no neo-colonial hegemony of whatever kind. Our relations with Russia are solid and time-tested, and I'm sure they'll grow further. I'll not take more than a minute. We are endeavoring in India for a Vikasit Bharat. In 2047, we celebrate 100 years of Indian independence. And in this phase of India's existence as an independent nation state, and we will rise higher for sure, given the young talent that is there in India and the skills that are there in India. Life in India, when I joined the Foreign Service some 36 years ago, was very different from what it is today. We didn't have money to repay our interests for the loans that we took from the IMF and the World Bank. And today we are net gifters of money to the World Bank and the IMF, major contributors, in fact, in several areas. So it gives me great pride today. We were in a debt trap in 1990. Think about it, not very long ago. But inexorably, the India's population, which was seen as a burden some 35 years ago, will likely be something that will provide a distinct demographic dividend. I have no doubt whatsoever, being one of the centers, important centers of science, technology, and innovation, will be among the leaders, even in artificial intelligence. The Prime Minister spoke in Paris last night. I'm sure you are aware of what he had to say. I'll stop here, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I'll of course be associated with the festival, and with great pleasure I wish to congratulate all from the Alliance University for pulling this forward. Professor Anirudh is young, dynamic from Oxford. My particular thanks go to Ambassador Hojayev, who took time off to be present with us this afternoon. And it is a little overwhelming to see so many journalists. I hope Dr. Abhay Chebbi has the required time to be able to field a few questions from all of you. Thank you very much.
Maybe a sentence to open up questions.
Okay. So, just going back to the theme of the festival that both our excellencies and our Pro-Chancellor has opened up. So, in a sense, we're looking at the Asian century as something that's already here. But in terms of last year's meeting in Kazan, the point of the BRICS still remains a great question to be answered, right? So what are we as countries? We're not in the same place. We are dispersed around the world. But what is the positive goal of BRICS is a great question. And what is the positive goal of the Asian century is also a great question. Is it just an economic alliance? Is it a geostrategic alliance? Or is there a positive worldview that the BRICS and Asia as such brings to the table? And these are all great questions that we want to ponder. Is it going to be an alternative to the rules-based world order? Is it going to be based on international law? But international law is a kind of Westphalian consensus of countries that were grouped together geographically, but we are not grouped together geographically. So in a sense, BRICS is possible because of the modern world, because of the internet and because of modern technology and our ability to be connected with nations that are otherwise not physically connected to us. So is it going to be based on human rights? But human rights is a concept that has been used to justify bombings in Serbia, Iraq, Libya. So is that the way we want to go? Or are we going to sort of acknowledge the idea that countries align with each other economically, but there are moral underpinnings to these economic alliances? So ultimately, we want to not answer these questions, but ultimately, Alliance University wants to be the sort of epicenter where these questions are pondered, either in the festival that Mr. Abhay Chebi spoke about, or in our Eurasian Center, where we want to basically be the sort of intellectual hub where we ponder these questions, the positive role of BRICS and Asia in the world. What is it going to be? And maybe I can throw it over to Dr. Julien Barrett for one line or two on our Eurasian Center, which will actually be taking the intellectual leadership in charge at Alliance University on these subjects. And before we throw it open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Anirudh. I have the privilege of serving at Alliance University under the guidance of two visionaries, Mr. Abhay and Dr. Anirudh, who have this capacity of forward thinking, because power dynamics are fast evolving, and power centers are shifting from the Atlantic to the Asia Pacific very fast. And as Sir was explaining, Russia and India have a special and privileged relationship for a very long time, even before the collapse of the USSR. It was the case already. But we do believe that the potential of cooperation between Russia and India is still underexploited, and especially in the field of education, culture, science, and there is a big room for improvement. For example, how many Indian students speak Russian fluently? How many are able to understand from the inside Russian culture, and vice versa, obviously. I believe that in order to deepen, to strengthen our ties, it is important to know each other better. And for this reason, fostering a cooperation between Russia and India, and all the Russian-speaking world, if I may say, Ruski mir, as we say in Russian, is extremely important for the future of our country. Because maybe when you were young, for people of your generation, the USA, the UK was the acme, was the peak of success for a career abroad. But for your children today, it is Korea, it is Japan, it is Russia. The world is changing, and new centers of power are emerging. And I believe that Alliance University has this vision of the future, has this vision of openness to speak with representatives from all around the world, including from Russia, despite the current international situation. And we have this will to cooperate with our Russian friends, Russian partners in India, and also in Russia, in the Russian world, in Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, with Russian organizations all around the world, in order to strengthen the ties between India and Russia. This is the reason why, under the leadership of Dr. Anirudh and Mr. Abhay Chebi, we decided to launch the Alliance Center for Asian Studies, in order to welcome Russian scholars, Russian students, to send our own students, scholars, faculty, staff members to Russia as well, and to share our knowledge and to collaborate together in order to create a more fair world order based on collaboration, cooperation, mutual respect, and mutual understanding. And I believe that in this objective, Alliance Literary Festival can also play a role, because in the Alliance Literary Festival, everyone is welcome. We respect any opinion, any view, any perspective. We give a room to everyone to speak, and we give also opportunity to our students or attendees to participate, to play a role. It is exactly the role that we want to build for the future. It is how we see India in the future, Russia in the future, Asia and Eurasia in the future. Thank you.
I suppose the floor is open.
Yeah, the floor is open.
Yeah. Honorable Council
Please, please name yourself and your organization.
From Fortune World.
From Fortune World.
So the wall is just over. So how do you see the things like interest will really improve this cultural cultural it is festival like this.
In Russia and India. Yes. This is, I think this question is better to ask my colleagues here, as they are organizing this conference. But anyway, cultural cooperation, cultural cooperation research, actually it is a traditional pillar of our ties. And this is something that never interrupted, and Even here in the south of India, we have a lot of events in here. We organize festivals, organize conferences, seminars. All this is, and, but now we have one more feature in this, as we have new avenues of this cooperation. Just 15 years back, we had only bilaterals. Now we have also the avenue of cultural interaction through various multilateral platforms. And they are becoming ever more important. I mean, first of all, BRICS. As through this platform, we have launched a lot of events, and they are regular. It is not only in culture, it is in sports, in many other areas. This is a vast area, and there is a lot of connection here. Just this time, we were a couple of days here with the ambassador. We visited, as you mentioned, the Chatrikala Parishad.
Chitrisala.
Chatrisala Parishad. This is the institution with which we have a very long association, and the Roerich legacy, which is also upheld and maintained by this institution. We are very grateful to them for this. It is very much valuable asset of which belongs to Russia and India both. I just hope that these forums that you have regularly also will promote our cultural ties between Russia and India. I think it's maybe better to ask Alliance University how they are going to do this.
Sure. I think it was during the reign of Babur that there was a trade route established, I believe, from the port of Mumbai all the way to St. Petersburg. This is in the 15th century. And what we find is that this was a trade in silk and muslins. India was known for its weaving and its textile. But in the process of this trade relationship, what we find is an entire sea change in the sort of in the architecture of Russian traditional churches coming about in the 15th century. And similarly, we have those changes in architecture being reflected in places like Delhi. So there's a clear link, I think, between economic cooperation and trade and its ramifications in culture, whether it be art or architecture. And I think the point of a festival such as the one that Alliance hosts, but not just a festival, but also sort of centers of intellectual centers like university, contending with these sort of ties that are established first by economic sensibility and cooperation, is that we can actually explore how these economic ties can lead to many sort of cultural minglings and flowerings forth of new sort of cultural ideas as well as artistic explorations, not just between India and Russia, as the Honorable Consul General said, but now that we have a strong forum like BRICS and a sort of Asian identity with ASEAN, as he also mentioned, it's important that we stop sort of hysterically moaning about cultural appropriation and things like this and start cultural appreciation to have a sort of joint cultural growth together to as a kind of superstructure over the basic economic ties that bind us.
Just have one quick point to make. See, the cultural cooperation between India and Russia, and for that matter the former Soviet Union, go back a long way. Afanasy Nikitin was a Russian philosopher, poet, author, and scholar who first documented his visits to India. These were followed by very intensive cultural exchanges between India and the Russian Federation, most notably in the last 10 years or so. But as Ambassador Hujayev mentioned, these have now also not been restricted to government exchanges, but also the private sector enterprises, they are also involved. There is a tremendous amount of interest in Indian culture and philosophy in Russia and in the ex-Soviet space for that matter. Indian dance forms till today. Some of the finest Kathak dancers are from Russia. Some of the finest Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam dancers are from Russia. There has been a lot of interest in Indian films of late. But I would like to believe that India and Russia should invest 10x more money into furthering cultural cooperation than what are the current levels of cooperation. At least when I used to grow up, we used to have so many books on our breakfast table and dining table. I forget some of the titles. Soviet, I think, was one. There were several journals that the Russian embassy would produce in tens of thousands for distribution through the nook and corner of India. I think time has come for Russia to spend more money towards publicity in India and vice versa. Thank you very much, including in films.
Sir, I have one question. Of course, now the alliance, as far as we know in India, you are an educational reformer, of course. You are closely related to education and its reformation and upgrading the skills, the latest skills and all. In what way? And ever since the India has become independence, so we owe to Russia because we know the Indian history, how it has been developed. And we had a lot of influence from Russia and as well as from India also. As you said, the cultural collaboration. See, the Russians have embraced the Indian culture, and you know that the most important Indian culture like Kathak, what you have referred, and all these things have been already accepted by the Russians, and the very famous, I think I want to take his name today because we have celebrated his 100th birthday, Raj Kapoor. It is the only personality from India where the Russians have given the due respect for him. And I want to take his name because this year we are celebrating the 100th birthday of Raj Kapoor, sir. Raj Kapoor, Dada Saheb Phalke Award, our greatest cinema honor, Raj Kapoor's name also I want to take on this occasion. Because, and the second thing, sir, you have touched almost all the important subjects of the future, taking how the future has to be. The one point that is just making me to ask is, the big challenge of the world is sustainability. This is the biggest problem that we are facing on sustainability. But if this particular alliance, what you know have with Russian and India and Russian, I think sustainability is not just an Indian problem, it is a global problem. So how that you want to take the sustainability problem to the next generation so that the next generation lives in a very lovely atmosphere and like that, you know what is exactly the threat of sustainability, because that is a big challenge nowadays. I'm telling you have to give it some thought on this sustainability problem, and I want to know with the panel that what ideas you have got to take it forward.
Would you like to go first, Pastor Vijay?
Sustainability, as I understand, you mean the preservation of these cultural ties and making them stronger. Yes?
Sustainability of growth, as it were.
Of growth.
Not just culture.
Not just culture.
Not just culture.
Look, this is. Look, we are all talking about the economic potential. It is tremendous, really. It is tremendous. But you know, if we are looking at the history, it looks like nothing is changing at the moment. But if you look at in a span of 20 years, even 20 years, not more, you will see the great change. And it starts with the tendencies, actually. The tendency now is that Russia has turned fully to the east. And it had to do this because all its romancing with the West, unfortunately, led to a catastrophic situation. And hopefully we will certainly resolve all these issues after some time. No problems can persist endlessly. But at this point, as I see it, there is a turn and towards east, towards Asia also, towards Africa and Latin America, towards the global majority, as we call it. Which, by the way, you see, it depends how you look at this. But if you look at the situation from the point of geopolitical shifts, just looking, even at the period of 10 years, what we have now, just 10 years back, the West had something like, as far as I remember, the G7 countries, they had twice as big economy holistically than BRICS countries. Now the situation has changed. They have something like 20-something%, BRICS almost 40. Look how many nuclear stations are being built at the moment. One of these masterpieces is being built in the south of India, in Kudankulam. And if you look at it, there are 62 or 63. 58 in BRICS plus countries. This is the change. I think the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, they have some kind of tracker of critical technologies. Out of 68 technologies, 67, I don't remember, they are following. You just can have a look. United States are leading in 7. I just looked at it yesterday. And China in 56. By the way, India is the second one in many. So it is certainly, I cannot agree with some of this assessment because, for example, in defense area, you will see there that there is no Russia. But I think Russia has already proved that it can build high-end weapons which are outstanding, which no other countries have at the moment. So along with this change, there's coming to even to culture, to I think this will bring also, this, we have a certain layer of culture which is between Russia and India that was created during the last, you just mentioned Afanasy Nikitin, but I think for the last 70 years, this is a unique relationship. And never Russia put down India, never India put down Russia. This is a unique relationship. We never had any trade wars or anything. Look, when we are meeting the Indian people at of very high ranks here, and Indian scientists, they all are grateful to us. They say, you made a foundation for us to start.
Thank you very much,
So
sir.
this is, yeah.
Thank you very much for
I think culture will go after this also. It will raise. It will raise. So will rise.
One more question. Please stick to our ALF related questions and due to time constraints, please limit it to 2 minutes.
Children, what is your narrative of the ALF 4.0?
Of what one?
Literature Fest 4.0, it's going to happen in Bangalore.
What's the narrative of the ALF Literary Festival?
The Alliance Literary Festival 4.0 version. What are your views on the Alliance Universities, their festival basically?
For 4.0.
I think it will be more appropriate if either
Mr. Abhay.
as the Pro Chancellor, Dr. Abhay Chabi will be better placed to answer that question.
Right. So, as I mentioned, as I began my brief note, literature, words, these are bridge to different societies, different countries, different contexts, and it can be a medium for a lot of change. And this can bring about a lot of dialogue. As it is, the Alliance Literary Festival 4.0 that we call it, the 4th edition of the Literary Festival that he was referring to, has been bringing writers, poets, authors, translators. In fact, we also partnered with the APLF, the APWT, writers and translators from the Asia Pacific, and had our own version of it. I think literary festival, something like this, and there are many. Bangalore has a literary festival, Bangalore Lit Fest, Jaipur has, and the Alliance University has the Alliance Literary Festival. This is a confluence of people, great minds who bring about their perspectives, their writings without inhibitions, without any prejudice, to build a society that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This time we're seeing about 25 plus countries represent, with famous writers coming from these different countries, and a lot of writers here from India. I think this is a starting point, and I'm particularly happy that a university is doing something like this. It's usually a city that comes together to do this, but an act where a university takes the precedence and hosts such literary festival is unique, and I hope and wish that many such educational institutions step up to do that. As an outcome, what we feel, ALF can lay a strong foundation for cultural exchanges, exchange of ideas, and more so build Bangalore as a culture of art and writing. So thank you so much. That's my limited point.
Just one very quick point along the same lines. The very fact that 25 countries are represented at the Alliance Literary Festival is a statement in itself. There was no reply to your question on Raj Kapoor and its centennial celebrations in Russian Federation. Till today, people at my age, at the age of 60, in Moscow, at a dinner will sing Mera Joota Hai Japani, Mera Patloon Hai Hindustani, whatever. Sar pe laal topi Rusi, fir bhi dil hai Hindustani. Till today, they sing. So that is the level of cultural depth, and even in the Soviet times, if I had 20 kgs of baggage, if I had 10 books, and if I told the customs I'm an Indian diplomat, they would not search my baggage because they would never suspect us. So that is the level of trust and confidence that India and Russia enjoy in each other. Sustainability. Millennium Development Goals were developed by the United Nations to be completed by 2000. I think both India and Russia have done very well in terms of meeting a majority of these sustainability development goals. But I agree with you, at a time when the leading power on Mother Earth wants to withdraw from World Health Organization, or to sort of impose tariff barriers for international trade, we'll have to keep our fingers crossed on how open a global society we are. I suppose all these authors and scholars will be debating and discussing these issues when you are talking of a fair and just international economic and financial order. In addition to a fair social order and a cultural order, I think these issues will be of great significance. I think we can take one last question and wrap up. There are no ladies who've asked any questions. Are there any ladies here who would like to?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.